I mean, it. I told myself before this game, it just can't get any worse. But the Phillies really just cease to amaze me in how poorly they're playing right now. It's just, like I don't understand why our offense is struggling so much right now. We have the pieces. We have players like Gene Segura, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto. We have Reese Hoskins. We have the pieces in this lineup to chip in offensively night in and night out. And it just feels like we're not doing that. It's like I always come to this. Our offense experiences extreme highs and extreme lows. And we're in the extreme low right now, but it just feels like this extreme low is sticking around way too long. And it feels like when we get to those highs in our offense, they feel like they only last for maybe like about a couple games or so. The the stretches of when we're not really good offensively, it feels like they last for more than like a week and a half or something like that. And that's what the Phillies are going through right now. We are 6-9 in June, and then the past three games, and they were all against division rivals, against Atlanta, and these past two games against Washington, we have been outscored 23-3. That just shows to go you how bad this offense is struggling, and it just really boggles my mind on we have so many talented players and they're just can't get anything going. And like I said in the previous video from today's game, it just feels like there's no it factor with this team. There's no motivation. There's no reason to play right now. It just feels like they're giving up already. And we're at the 73 game mark, almost near towards the halfway point of the season. And we're already talking about the. I don't want to admit it, but we're already talking about the collapse of the rest of the season right now. Because we're falling more behind the Atlanta Braves right now. We are, I think, at least 3.5 games behind Atlanta. And at the beginning of June, we were 3.5 games above in first place, above Atlanta. Now, with the struggling right now in June, we've fallen even closer to where the Braves and the Nationals are. Not the Braves, the Mets and the Nationals are. And we're letting the Braves just climb up the division like it's nothing. And this video is going to be more of a rant than anything because I just don't understand how poorly this team can struggle. And this game reminds me of the day game. Even though there weren't as many runs scored, it reminds me, Zach Eflin, he pitches a really solid game in order to give this team a chance to win the ball game. Jake Arrieta does the same exact thing. He goes 6 strong and only allows 1 earned run. He basically almost equally performed Max Scherzer today, even though Max Scherzer was dominant on the mound. And I said that in the first video at the end. I said, knowing our luck, Max Scherzer, even though he's injured, he has the broken nose, he has the black eye, he's going to throw a gem because that's just our luck. And Max Scherzer just did as I said. He pitched a gem out there. He goes 7 strong innings and he strikes out 10. And he allows no earned runs as the Phillies get shut out by the Washington Nationals in the night part of the doubleheader 2-0. And we only bolster 4 hits. And like I said, there's just nothing in this offense right now. And it's looked that way from the beginning of the ball game, where Gene Segura, leadoff guy, he gets on base early, but it looks like he can hustle enough to get to second base, but he chooses not to. He chooses to stay at first base, which is really confusing. When you have the chance on a bloop single and the outfielder's not in the right position to get to the ball in time, and he has the chance to go to second base, why don't you take that chance? Why are you staying at first base where if you're at second base, you can have people like Harper, Reese Hoskins, or Scott Kingery have a chance to drive you in? And even though Bryce Harper, Scott Kingery, the rest of the inning, they didn't do anything either, but like having that chance at second base, it's a nice risk to take, knowing you'll have Harper who can drive in runs, Scott Kingery, or even Reese Hoskins to drive in a run. But Gene Segura did not do that, and we all know that ever since the start of June, ever since Andrew McCutchen went down with that torn ACL, Gene Segura has not been the same player coming off of that big 15-game hitting streak that he was on from the middle to the end of May. So I don't know what is wrong with Gene Segura right now, but it's just like he's always swinging. He's falling to one knee. And when I was watching the post-game show, they were talking about that too. Why is Gene Segura always falling to one knee when he's swinging the bat? When he's swinging the bat, is he hiding something that we don't know? Is he playing injured, or is it just he's just going through one of the worst slumps of his career? Because Gene Segura is a career 290 hitter, 296 hitter, I think. And I think he's going through one of the worst slumps of his career right now because throughout June he's hitting around 196, and he's barely getting on base, and he's barely getting any hits. He's not the Gene Segura from April and May who was just hitting the ball to every part of the ballpark, getting on base no matter what. This is a different Gene Segura than I've seen before in my life. He just can't get anything going. And I also want to point out that the Phillies have allowed, through the first 73 games of this season, already they have allowed 120 home runs. That's pretty bad to allow 120 home runs not even halfway into the season. And there was one stat on Twitter that John Clark posted that, I think it was John Clark, he posted that in the 2011 season, the Phillies, in total, throughout the entire season, only allowed 120 home runs. And throughout the first 73 games of the season, we matched that total already. So that's saying something of how much this pitching staff is struggling right now. But these past few games, the doubleheader today, Zach Eflin and Jake Arrieta, they pitched fine today, even though they both allowed even though they both allowed a home run or two, and it's just, I don't know, what to say, right now. I just don't know how to judge this team right now because, like, knowing I will say that we're in the brink of a collapse, and then they'll go out for the next couple of weeks and go on like an outstanding winning streak. That's just, I feel like where the team is at right now because we're starting to discuss should the Phillies be sellers at the trade deadline. What do the Phillies have to do to get better to possibly make a run at the division? Because right now we're sitting in the second wildcard spot and we have expectations as a fan base, we have expectations as an organization to at least win the division to get to the first round of the playoffs. And right now we're not doing that right now. And there's also a lot of good, interesting stats saying that the team from last year, they were better at this point than we are right now. And we all know the team from last year, they went on that gigantic collapse after the All-Star break. So is the collapse happening right now? Or is this team just due for a gigantic run after the All-Star break? I don't know how to judge it. Just because I can't predict this team. Because when we're going through these extreme lows, we'll somehow get out of it and go on an extreme high and win a lot of games. But then it'll just go right back to the extreme lows and losing a ton of games and falling out of first place like we're doing right now. And we're giving the Braves so much breathing room right now, it's not even funny. Even though we don't even have a couple games in hand, I think, because we got delayed from the past two games with the Washington Nationals because of the rain, and we just played 2 games today, so I think we might have a game in hand on the Braves or something like that, but it doesn't even really matter because we're 3.5 games back. And I don't know how to judge this team right now because pitching, Aaron Nola's not pitching up to standards. Our best pitcher right now is Zach Eflin. And I don't want to knock Eflin on anything because I think he's a decent pitcher. But when your best pitcher right now is Zach Eflin, that's a problem. When your ace, Aaron Nola, is not pitching up to standards, you know there should be a problem right there. And there's also another thing that the post-game show, Ricky Pitalico also mentioned. What happened to the power with this lineup? What happened to Rhys Hoskins and what happened to Bryce Harper? Where are the power numbers at? Where are the home runs at? Because those two in general, they should combine for it. Rhys should be up to possibly near the 20 home run mark by now. Same thing with Bryce Harper. He should be near at least 15 to 20 home runs. And there's just no power numbers. The power numbers aren't up there right now. And there was also an interesting stat on the Mike Missinelli show. Bryce Harper, his exit velocity, even though I'm not really into analytics and all that stuff, they've been saying his exit velocity is probably the highest it's ever been in his career. But it's the ball, I forget what the stat is called. It's the ball angle metric. I forget what it's called. It's probably the lowest it's ever been because he's not getting the ball up in the air enough to drive the ball out of the ballpark. But his exit velocity is probably its highest that it's ever been. So is it the fact that Bryce Harper's swing is he's just not getting the right timing in there, or is he just not swinging good enough? Or is he just not getting the right timing on the ball? He's not squaring the ball up enough. I don't know what to say. And Rhys Hoskins, I know he's a hot and cold player, but it just feels like the cold streaks are just more evident than the hot streaks right now because I know he's batting .268, and I'm not saying Rhys Hoskins should be around a 300 hitter, like 260, 270, 280 is where he should be, but it's just the power number, the home runs aren't there, and he's not hitting home runs at all. And we expect players like Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper to be our power hitters in the three and four spot, and it's not happening right now. When you're relying on players like Scott Kingery, even though Scott Kingery was one of our best prospects, and right now he's one of our best hitters because he's the most consistent out of this whole team right now. And even players like Cesar Hernandez, he's been one of the more consistent hitters as of late, even though he's starting to go through one of his little slumps. But even him, he's one of the better hitters on our team. And when you have to, like I know in a day-night doubleheader, you have to rest a couple of guys from the day game, and you have to put people from the bench into the starting line for the night game. But when you play guys like Andrew Knapp, you know you're in for trouble because Andrew Knapp's not a good player. He's the worst backup catcher in the league probably. And when you have to put Andrew Knapp into the ball game, you know he's not going to provide anything offensively. And like I know you cannot play JT Realmuto every single game because it's going to destroy him, but I'd much rather prefer JT Realmuto in the lineup. Andrew Knapp is not good. He's not good at all. And I just don't know what to say about this team right now. It's just hard to describe. It's hard to think of because you can't think of a solution with this team right now because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. In my opinion, I just can't think of an idea that can probably help fix this team. And they were saying that on the post-game show too. They have no idea how this team can flip it around, how they can turn it around, because they all agree that we have the pieces to be a good team. Nothing's clicking right now. And no one wants to hear the excuses that Andrew McCutchen, the injury has been a big effect on this lineup right now because he provides the veteran leadership in the clubhouse, and he's a guy that you can rely on night in and night out to produce offensively. Yeah, that's a big piece of the lineup gone because of his torn ACL, but they also brought up a good point. If the Phillies were winning at the time when Andrew McCutchen tore his ACL, would we be losing as much as we were right now? And because we were losing at that point, did that injury sting even more than it should have if we were winning? Because if we were winning at that point, you could probably slide it off because we were already in a winning streak. But since we were in a losing streak at that time, maybe this Andrew McCutchen injury is stinging this lineup even more than it should. When we have to throw players like Roman Quinn into the lineup now, and even though we have to throw other players into the lineup from the bench, it's just like it feels like there's just no spark in this team without Andrew McCutchen in the lineup. And it just feels like they lost all types of confidence in the world. So, it's just like I said before, I can't think of anything that can help this team right now. I just feel like we're in the middle of a collapse that's not going to end. But then also, and probably in a couple days, they can turn it around and go on another streak of winning. And then it's just like, I cannot predict this team. But I feel like the team at this point last year was better than the team right now because we were playing better baseball at this point, but we had the better team on paper than last year's team. So why are we struggling right now? Is it the coaching staff? Is it the players in general just not clicking with each other? Is it the chemistry? Or is it the front office? Some type of change has to be made to get this team sparked, to get this team going. I don't know if it's Gabe Kapler that's not getting this team going, the rest of the coaching staff that's not getting this team going, or the players are just not clicking in general. Because I feel like the extreme lows that we experienced throughout the season, I feel like they're more evident than the extreme highs. Because when we're in the extreme lows, we can't do anything. And when we're in the extreme highs, we can do everything possible. Our offense is lights out, and our pitching, if they have a bad night, during the extreme highs, our offense will step up for them. But during the extreme lows, these past 2 games, our pitching has been stepping up, but our offense hasn't been helping them out at all. So we're in that point now where we just can't get any type of offense going. And it's really frustrating to watch. And I don't know how they can get out of it. I don't know what they can do to fix this gigantic slump that they're in. I don't know what Bryce Harper can do to raise his power numbers. I don't know what Rhys Hoskins can do to do the same thing. It's just like there's no easily solvable way to fix what's wrong with the Phillies right now. And I want to know what you guys think on that, because do you guys have any type of opinions? Do you guys have any thoughts on how the Phillies can fix the lineup, how they can get this team to spark somehow? So Don't forget to drop a comment. Don't forget to leave your opinion on like how the Phillies can fix this at all. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And just leave your thoughts and opinions on how you can fix this Phillies team, because I want to hear them, because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to fix this team. I don't know what type of solution can be made. Are we going to be sellers at the deadline, or are we going to be buyers? I have no idea. So don't forget to drop a comment. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, boys, and I will see you in the next video.